Okay. Well, welcome everyone to my first ever virtual superintendent coffee chat. I know it's about 3:10, and I apologize. We were having some technical problems, and so we needed to divert from Plan A to go to Plan B. So we shifted from Facebook to YouTube and connected you through Facebook. So, anyways, I thank you for joining us. This is Mark Murphy here at Tusky Valley Local Schools, and I'm thrilled to introduce my co-host and moderator today, Mr. Jason Phillips, who also serves as our high school principal. And a special thanks to Mr. Chris Lewis. He's behind the cameras and behind the scenes today. He has helped us make all of this happen, and I appreciate his professionalism and pulling together lots of equipment and technology to do something different and unique. The purpose typically of a coffee chat is to just spend time with you, spend time with people in our community. And typically there's no agenda. It's just an open opportunity for Q&A. Typically we would hold this at a place like the Canal Street Diner and sit at the corner table and have plenty of coffee to enjoy. And so we're different. It's different today. The goal of the coffee chat is to connect with you, to make myself available, to make our district available, and to do our best to provide information and pertinent information, talk about our happenings, our challenges, and our opportunities, and then probably most importantly, based on the things that I share, if you've got questions or things that I did not talk about that our residents and families and staff members may have, that you could pose those and just have some open dialogue for Q&A. So we will do our best to handle that virtually. So I believe that you should be able to post your questions to the Facebook page or to the YouTube, right? Are we doing YouTube? So if you've got a question or a thought or idea, please share that live on the YouTube channel. And then Mr. Phillips will do his best to watch for those questions. And then when it's time for Q&A, he will be your voice. He will help moderate and see if there are themes to those questions, and then pose those to me, and I'll do my very best to answer. So again, we welcome you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I want to first of all begin. I want to begin by saying thank you. We have just come off the past 2 months. We are concluding the 2019-2020 school year remotely. And no one would have ever anticipated during the 2019-2020 school year that on Friday, March 13th, we'd be communicating with students and staff. And then on Monday, we'd communicate again with staff, keep kids at home. And on Tuesday, March 17th, we began and concluded this year with remote learning. So I want to thank you so much for your patience, your flexibility. Our teachers and staff, I believe that our teachers, our staff, our students, our parents and families have just been spectacular. You have knocked it out of the park, and I know it's been hard. I know it's been challenging, and it's been different. And I just want to say on behalf of our entire team here at Tusky Valley, thank you, thank you, thank you. It has not been ideal, but we have made the best of a tough situation. And I want you to know that, and you'll probably sense this a little bit today, I feel a little bit raw. I feel like I don't have all of the answers, and I know if I do my best to put myself in your shoes, you're wanting to know a lot of things. You're wanting to know specific end-of-year happenings. You're wanting to know how things are going to transition into the fall, into August. You know, people say, oh, when we return in the fall. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's really weeks away. In my mind, when we think about planning, that's not very long. So I will do my best to share some information with you. We're going to talk about 4 F's today. 4 F's. And then I'm going to turn it over to you for questions. The first F is facilities. We're going to talk about facilities, finances, our focus, and our future. Those are the 4 big F's that I wanted to cover today. So let's talk about our facilities first. I think we have a lot of extremely exciting information happening and things that are taking place regarding our facilities. We are going to move forward. We are moving forward as we speak with a plan and a comprehensive vision for a facilities project for Tusky Valley by bringing everything to the Tusky Valley Road campus. You've heard me talk about that before, but I want to tell you that that is a reality, and we keep making progress in that direction. So the big picture vision is to construct a new 7 through 12 facility on this campus, and it would be located behind our stadium to the left of the existing middle school. So construct a new 7 through 12 building. We would also then renovate the existing middle school, and that would house grades preschool through grade 6. We would then eventually do a selective demolition and perhaps some renovation, but the key would be selective demolition of our existing high school. We would be the plan would be to keep the auditorium, keep our gymnasium, the existing gymnasium, the cafeteria, and those kinds of spaces to be used for central office would continue to be operating out of our existing high school, and make it more of a community center. Eventually then we would be shifting our bus garage from where it is currently to across the street to the existing parking lot. And then eventually we also want to completely redesign our stadium and bring our sports and athletic facilities up to speed with a field house, locker rooms, and those kinds of things. So a great big plan. And I thought originally that this plan would take us perhaps 8 to 10 years to complete. I don't think it's going to take us that long, and I'll share with you why. We are working with Lesko Associates, who are our architects, and Hammond Construction. The Board of Education has selected Hammond Construction to serve as our construction at risk, or construction manager at risk. We are now, this is exciting, we are now shifting from what the architects call as the schematic design phase into the design development phase. And we're in the process of meeting virtually with our teachers and staff in small groups to seek input on the design process. And keeping us at the forefront of what drives everything is, what do we need instructionally? What do we need to do to deliver the best and highest quality education for our students in the most flexible learning environments possible? So we're in that process of seeking input from our teachers and staff, and it's really been awesome to listen to their thoughts and ideas and share feedback with the architects. And now what the architects are going to do is to take that feedback, incorporate those needs and ideas and goals into the design, and then circle back around with us. So I know it'll continue to evolve, but it's been really exciting to see that unfold. Today is Thursday. Just yesterday, the district financed the local share of this project. That is huge, and I am thrilled to tell you that we were successful, and Mr. Phillips, our district treasurer, was thankful and excited about this, and I'm thankful to be able to share it with you. But we were successful in financing the local share of this project. And when I say project, I'm speaking specifically of the two buildings, the new 7 through 12 building, and renovating and adding on to the existing middle school to serve as pre-K through 6. Anything and everything that we do above and beyond that will be paid for, or must be paid for, locally. It's not a state shared project. But we were able to finance our project, this, which is 55%. The local share is 55%. We financed approximately $27 million by selling what's called certificates of participation, otherwise known as COPs, certificates of participation. And then you may be wondering, okay, well, Mark, how are we going to pay for that? Well, it's a financing piece. We are financing this over 30 years. Our goal is to pay it off much sooner and faster than that, but the amortization process is 30 years. And we will be paying that mortgage yearly by benefiting and capitalizing off of the Rover pipeline utility taxes. We are using the Rover utility tax revenue to serve as far as how we can pay our mortgage for this project. The state, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, is picking up the tab for the remaining 45%. so the remaining $17 million. So again, we are financing about $27 million. The state is kicking in another $17 million, and that will, we believe, cover what we want to be able to accomplish with a new 7 through 12 and renovation in addition to our pre-K through 6, to the existing middle school to serve as pre-K through 6. So that, I just shared a ton of information with you. It's very exciting and kind of daunting at the same time. But ladies and gentlemen, we are moving forward with this project. People ask me from time to time, so Mr. Murphy, when is this building going to open? When will we see some activity and that kind of thing? You can anticipate tree clearing probably this fall. There's a window of time that we can do that because of something to do with bats. And there's a window of time that we can do it, and every other time is off limits. So our goal is to do some tree clearing this fall. You may want to mark these dates down. We can anticipate construction of the new 7 through 12 building starting in March of 2021. That's not too far ahead. That's less than a year from now. We begin the construction process of the new 7 through 12 building. That would continue through about November of 2022. And then we hope that we could occupy and open up the new facility either mid-year, so either January of 2023, or we would wait, because we always want to make sure that the quality is there rather than rushing that. So either January of 2023 or perhaps August of 2023. And that's when we would be opening the new 7 through 12 building. So there's our first F, facilities. The next one that kind of follows that naturally, finances, and these are not really in any particular order of importance, but just wanted to share it with you. Finances. Our core value here at Tusky Valley, and I want to be we're very clear about this. The treasurer, Mr. Phillips, and I feel very strongly about it. So does our Board of Education. But our district, a core value is that we demonstrate financial responsibility and integrity by maximizing our resources, spending conservatively, and operating efficiently. If we do those three things, we continue to have a budget that we can manage. We continue to have resources that we can manage versus having to cut people, enact reductions in force, and worst case, asking our residents for new money or for an operating levy and those kinds of things. So speaking of money, I want to just say on behalf of our Board of Education and our entire team at Tusky Valley, thank you to our community. Thank you for your support of our renewal levy that was just passed it was the March, this is funny, it was the March primary election, and that, which was scheduled for March 17th, then that was pushed back to April 28th. But our community has been generous, and I thank you for that, sincerely. Thank you for the passing the renewal levy for that $460,000 emergency operating levy. We then, you have probably read in the newspaper, you've watched on social media, you've heard how Governor DeWine, in light of the economy and what's happening, a significant budget reduction and cuts were made in these next 2 months, May and June, to help balance the state budget. And those cuts significantly went deep in terms of K-12 education. For us as a local district, we were cut in 2 months' time, $286,000. Now, you may think, well, Mark, out of an operating budget of $14 to $15 million annually, perhaps $286,000, $300,000 isn't a lot. We view that as a lot. On the positive side of things, you may have read too that school districts received what's called CARES funding, C-A-R-E-S, CARES funding, to help, and the purpose of that was to help keep our programming running, to help keep people employed, and those kinds of things. So that we received in CARES funding, we received about $159,000. So you were cut 286, you received 159. So the net loss, the net cut, ultimately over these 2 months, is $127,000. But so that's the reality of what we're dealing with. But I want to reassure our community, our staff. Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools has done incredibly well in terms of budgeting, planning, operating conservatively, all of those things. We are in good shape. Our budget is in good shape, and I credit our Board of Education for that. I credit their oversight. I credit Mr. Mark Phillips, our treasurer, for his diligence, his conservative nature, his great forecasting, all of those things, and good spending habits. We are in good shape. Now, we don't like to lose $127,000, but our goal is to continue moving forward. The big picture I want to share with you, and this is a message coming from Mr. Phillips and me, our treasurer, not Mr. Jason Phillips, my high school principal and co-host today, but our district treasurer. Barring any unforeseen, and we can have unforeseen circumstances, but barring any unforeseen circumstances, Mark Phillips's goal and Mark Murphy's goal on behalf of our Board of Education is to do everything possible for at least the next 8 to 10 years by operating efficiently, spending conservatively, all of those things. The next 8 to 10 years, we do not plan, there is zero intention of asking our community or our residents, our taxpayers, for anything. Our goal, to the greatest extent possible, is to do the exact opposite. It's to simply ask for the renewal of existing levies to keep us moving forward. It is to continue maximizing the Rover utility taxes to serve as revenue to pay the mortgage of building new buildings, and that we continue providing and delivering the best, highest quality education that we possibly can for the students and children and of our community. That is our vision. It is not to ask our community for anything other than your support and your belief and your trust in our school district. And you know what, you guys? Let me just pause on that for a moment. I was talking to a superintendent this morning, and we were talking about trust. And I said, you know what? That's one of the things I need to share today. I thank you for your trust. I know that you could choose any school district. You could choose to send your children to an online academy. You could choose to send your children to XYZ charter school or community school. You could choose to homeschool your children. And I thank you for your trust. Your trust has made us stronger. And we promise to just continue doing the very best. And we're going to get to the promise here a little bit later when I talk about some other things too in terms of our future. But again, our goal is to just not ask our community for anything. So, we're going to build new buildings without a bond issue. We are going to continue delivering the highest quality education we possibly can without asking for an additional operating levy. Now, I will tell you, in light of, hey, we're cut $127,000, and in light of, and this will lead to the next, well, the second F, or actually the final F is the future. But when I talk about staffing, right now we've had a couple resignations, and we've had a retirement. And normally we'd be immediately posting positions and interviewing and doing our very best to select the best and the highest qualified people to lead and to teach and to support children in our community. Well, I have zero plans of enacting a reduction in force unless we are absolutely forced to. But right now, in light of an unknown future, we're not hiring. But all that to say is, those are the kinds of decisions that help us keep moving forward rather than perhaps spending recklessly in an unknown way and then have to put people out of work. So financially, we're doing well, and I thank you for your trust. I thank you for your support. So the third F. So we've talked about facilities. We've talked about our finances. Now let's talk about our immediate focus. And Mr. Phillips, you've been living this with me. Our guidance counselors have been living this. The Tuscarawas Valley High School class of 2020. May, I think April and May have been consumed with the class of 2020. And I say that in a loving, good way. But today we got to celebrate our seniors with a parade, and it was fantastic. It was just great to see them come through and wave to them. A gift from the district of yard signs. Mr. Phillips has helped with that. And thanks to Solid Rock Photos, Denny and the trimmer and the Solid Rock Photos team put together beautiful yard signs. And so as a gift to our seniors, those yard signs lined the main street of Zor. So hopefully our students got to enjoy those as they came through. And by the way, they can pick those up now, right, Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Yeah, they can pick up their signs. Virtual graduation, you've probably heard me talk about this, but I would mark your calendars. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, May 22nd, graduation day, 7 o'clock p.m. Watch for the link being posted on our district website page, our social media. Watch the virtual graduation ceremony for the class of 2020. I think that it's outstanding. I cannot even begin to tell you or describe the amount of work, time, planning, effort that has gone into making that happen for this very special class of young men and women. So I trust that they will enjoy it, and I trust that it will be something that our parents and families will enjoy as well. As a gift to our seniors, every senior will receive a flash drive with the complete graduation ceremony on it, as well as some extra footage. Right? We've got
Yes.
And I've not seen the extra footage yet, but there may be some outtakes and some bloopers from our recording sessions. And kind of as a special gift to our seniors, they get to see some behind the scenes things. And then we have some other surprises for them as well from the staff that will be included on their flash drive. The other thing with the class of 2020, as much as I'd love to say, hey, everyone's welcome to the Lynn Drive-In, I can't do that. But in partnership with the Lynn Drive-In Theater in Strasburg, Tusky Valley will be the first graduation ceremony in our community to be debuted. That debut will take place on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, May 26th at 9:15 p.m. Mr. Phillips and a few other members of our team will be there to welcome our seniors. The only protocol is, because the drive-in theater also has to maintain social distancing, so there's only space enough for one vehicle per senior. So each of our seniors and your families, get in your vehicle, go to Lynn Drive-In. The one thing that we did learn, and you may want to go onto the Lynn Drive-In Theater website to learn more about this, but I do not believe that they're allowing blankets and lawn chairs and all those things. They are requiring people to remain in their vehicles as a safety precaution. So a lot of great things happening with the class of 2020 in terms of some of our immediate focuses. The other thing is immediate focus. Last day of school with students, for students, is Wednesday, May 27th. Next Wednesday, right after Memorial Day. That's our final day with students. That's also the day that our principals and secretaries and our teams have been working diligently. And again, this baffles me too. When I look at our hallways and I see how everything has been emptied from lockers, and we've taken student belongings and put them in boxes and trash bags, and everything's labeled. But Wednesday the 27th will be the day that for students in grades K to 11, you can stop by those buildings and pick up your student belongings at the intermediate school, middle school, and high school. Do not go to the primary school. If you have a child at the primary school, please go to the intermediate school if you need to pick up anything. Everything's there. Students in grades K to 4, their iPads and Chromebooks will be collected, and those will be collected at the intermediate school. You may be wondering about report cards then. If the last day of school is next week, then report cards for students in grades K to 4 will be mailed home probably that first week of June. Students in grades 5 through 12, your report cards will be available to you via your student progress book account. And parents have full access to those progress book accounts as well. The other thing coming up, immediate focus, is we're transitioning from I'm going to talk about food. So we continue to educate and we continue to feed our students. And so with the help of Mrs. Bettis, our food services coordinator, and our cooks, and just really an army of people, an army of volunteers and administrators all working together, we will transition from the current system of feeding our providing meals. We're currently serving 550 children each week on Mondays. We will continue on Monday. So starting Monday, June 1st, we will transition from our existing model to the summer meals program. It will still be delivery on Mondays to those existing 7 sites. Now the time frame may be adjusted a little bit because we may not have as many people helping us. So we may spread that out a little bit. We'll start at 11 o'clock, but we will provide directions. But the wonderful thing is, and the big thing I wanted to point out is that the summer meals program will be a natural transition. There will not be a break. We are going to continue providing meals on Monday. Now, you may ask about Memorial Day. We are not providing meals on Memorial Day. We will deliver on Tuesday. So this coming Monday, delivery will take place on Tuesday, not on Monday of Memorial Day. Kindergarten registration. I know that Mrs. Clements and our kindergarten team have been working behind the scenes on this, and perhaps you've been receiving communication and a letter, but kindergarten registration will be done this year, unfortunately, using individual appointments. So through individual appointments, probably June 3rd and June 4th. And then the other thing I want to mention in terms of our immediate focus, and this is a learning opportunity for me and for our team, but look for surveys. I'm going to be communicating and sending a survey to our teachers and staff and another survey out to our parents and students. And I haven't quite figured out if I'm going to have students complete or if I'm going to have parents complete the surveys with their children. But I would love to have your feedback to help us identify our strengths, our weaknesses, and opportunities for growth and improvement regarding the remote learning process over these past 2 months. I know that I believe the elementary school did a survey. Mine will be a bit more comprehensive. It will be a K-12 perspective, but your feedback will be used to help us improve and plan for the future. So please look for that moving forward. Mr. Phillips, do you remember what our final F is?
The future.
The future. That's right. So here we go. We're going to talk about the future here a little bit. And I'm going to do my best to share what I know and what I think. And a lot of you are probably going to still walk away with questions, and I understand that. But so let me start. I'll do my best to put myself in the shoes of our parents and staff members and members of our community. And you may be thinking, so specific, Mr. Murphy, what's school going to look like in August? We're ending the year remotely. What's school going to look like in August? And here's Mark Murphy's version of that response. No one has a clue. No one knows yet. There are lots of discussions happening. We, as superintendents and school leaders, we are constantly receiving guidance documents, Zoom meetings, all day long, if I wanted to. A bombardment, and that's using the word nicely, a bombardment of emails, communications from various organizations, various associations, various parties, various experts about what school can and should look like in just a few more months. So the directions basically that superintendents have received is, hey, Mark and other superintendents for Ohio and probably literally across the nation, hey, we need you to be prepared and plan now. We need you to plan for multiple scenarios. Plan for 100% remote learning. Plan that you start the way you're ending. Plan for a full return at full capacity in the fall. Plan for a hybrid model, meaning, hey, sometimes some students may be remote, other students are going to be in class. Maybe we do an alternating schedule where students normally, instead of coming 5 days a week, students are going to come to school 1 day a week and have in class in a small group with the teacher and support, and then the other half or the other 3/4 are at home. Well, I don't know about you, but that makes my head start spinning, and our team has started to think about possible scenarios. Yet I will tell you that there are hundreds and hundreds of implications to every single scenario. And so in other words, just be prepared. Be prepared for a multitude of scenarios. And also, by the way, Mr. Murphy, be prepared for immediate shutdown. So if you are in class and you are doing full capacity in return, or you're doing a hybrid model, you've got some at school and some remote, be prepared for, if in the event that there's flare-up of COVID-19, whether that's with staff or students, be prepared for immediate shutdown. Return immediately to 100% remote. So that's what we're trying to plan for, and I don't know about you, but that's just hard to plan for. But we will figure it out. And some here's and you're just going to get some raw frustrations from me. It's the reality, and I guess that's what. I think that's what you've come to expect from me. I will give you everything that I have. I will be as forthright and honest, and I'm generally I'm super optimistic, and I'm happy, and not that I'm not happy, but this has been hard.
Yes.
And it's made me a bit irritable sometimes, or perhaps a lot irritable. You could ask my wife and my children, especially. And very stressful and frustrating. But here are some of the things that I find most frustrating, because if you put yourself as a parent, and many of you are, or as a staff member, or a principal, or the superintendent, or a teacher, part of what Ohio is saying, they're calling it, and I love this, they're calling it the Reset, Restart Ohio education. But some of the protocols and requirements that we're seeing right now, right now it's a 12-page document. My gut tells me that by the time it's done, it will be a lot longer than that. But, here's some of the things that they're telling us, Mr. Phillips, that we would need to do to reset and restart Ohio schools for the fall. So you're a parent, right? Mm-hmm. You are a parent of 2 children in our school district.
Correct.
So, and you're also the building principal. Well, before you come to school and before your children come to school, all 3 of you, before you leave your home, you will do temperature checks, okay? Then when you get to school, Mr. Phillips, you're going to be wearing a mask, and your children will be wearing a mask. Same with mine. All day at school, okay? Also, when they're at school, required 6-foot social distancing in all environments. In the classroom, in the hallway, in the cafeteria, playground may or may not even be open, but 6-foot social distancing. We would be required to have a special room for suspected COVID. So if someone's not feeling well and they say, hey, Mr. Phillips, I don't feel well, I'm having trouble breathing. Well, none of us are going to know what the problem is. So you're to anticipate that they could be COVID. So then we have to set them in a special room until they're picked up. Think of the classroom setting, limited desks in that space, all desks at least 6 feet apart, all facing the same direction. No sharing of supplies, no sharing of materials, no sharing of devices, no sharing. What do we teach in kindergarten? Okay, I'll keep going. Limited students and special distancing on school buses. I have my commercial driver's license, and I can serve as one of our school bus drivers if I absolutely need to. Ladies and gentlemen, common sense tells me you do not socially distance on a school bus. You have to go back an aisle. You have to, but what we're being told is, right now, what we're being told is that the student numbers would be limited, and that a full-size capacity school bus would probably be holding 12 to 13 students per bus. We cover 100 square miles. We struggle to have enough bus drivers to do what we do. That's to be figured out. Directional signs in the hallways, because we need everybody moving the same direction, not crisscrossing in the hallway. So we would need to purchase or install signs, or just put down some tape with big arrows. I'm not trying to be nasty, and I'm not trying to be facetious. But I will be real with you, and this is frustrating to me. No field trips, no physical field trips, no assemblies, no large group gatherings, no visitors to the schools, and I didn't even. I mean, the last one would be sanitation. What we're receiving now, even from the Department of Education and from the Governor's Office in terms of the Reset, Restart Ohio, is a thorough sanitation, rigorous sanitation every day, multiple times each day, in between classes, at the end of the day, school buses. So a couple questions that I would have as the superintendent that's responsible for maintaining finances is, well, who is going to sanitize all of that, and how often, and how many? I mean, anyways, those are the things that we need to continue to figure out. Then, just yesterday, perhaps you noticed, Mr. Phillips, I think Mr. Lewis wants you. That's okay. Perhaps you noticed the Center for Disease Control just released information yesterday about their guidelines for the safe reopening for schools. That list is much more extensive than what I just shared with you. So, all that to say is, what does the future look like for Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools? What does the future look like for public education in Ohio? I don't know. And that really bothers me. We will figure it out. Here's what I know. We will figure it out. Here is my promise to you. Here's my promise to our staff. Here's my promise to our students. Here is my promise to our families. Regardless. See, I could get choked up, and I apologize. Regardless of the model of learning that is either dictated to us or perhaps determined at the local level, whatever model we come up with, we at Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools will always do our very best. We will make the decisions that are in the best interest educationally for our young people. That's the first and foremost priority. And we will provide learning environments all across the board that are caring, safe, supportive, challenging, and as personal as possible. That's what we are committed to. That is my promise. That is our promise. I cannot promise, Mr. Phillips, to meet every need that you have. I can't promise to make every employee happy. I can't promise to meet everyone's individual preference. There is no way. There's no way. I will promise, though, that our team will do everything possible. Our teachers and staff will do everything possible to deliver the highest quality education that we can for the children of our community. That's what our kids deserve. It's what our community expects. And just on a couple closing notes here, and then I'll turn it over to questions. Our mission here is not to just prepare children for the next grade. I had newspaper reporters, media people ask me, so Mr. Murphy, and they mean well, they truly mean well, and I appreciate the media in our community. But the question I had was, so Mr. Murphy, in light of the fact that really there wasn't school for the last 2 months, in class, there wasn't in-class learning happening, do you really think, were those seniors, were they ready? Did they really meet the requirements? Were they ready, and are they prepared? Well, I would take that. My response to this person, it was, anyways, my response was absolutely they're prepared. Thanks to our teachers and staff. Thanks to our parents. Thanks to the majority of our students that did their very best in a tough situation. They're prepared. I wasn't concerned about that at all. But our goal is not to just prepare them for the next school year. That is not our mission. Our mission is to prepare our young people for life. It is to prepare them for life, to grow them and to help them become caring, kind, thoughtful, hardworking, insightful, intelligent young men and women with phenomenal character. That's our mission. And as your public school district, I want you to know our goal has always been, we'll take whatever model is either determined for us or that we end up creating in consultation with the governor, in consultation with the Department of Education, in consultation with everyone. Our goal will be to take that, and we have those expectations, we have those guardrails, we have those parameters, and like we always do at Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools, as far as I'm concerned, our mission is to exceed them. We recognize what's been put out in front of us, and then we go and make it better and stronger. Why? Because that's what our kids deserve. And I think there's a lot at stake. And our kids don't deserve second best. So we want to exceed those goals. So we've covered 4 F's: facilities, finances, our immediate focus, and then the future. I know that you may have questions. Perhaps I've covered a lot of territory, but perhaps I've not covered everything. And at this point, I'll turn it over to some questions, and then Mr. Phillips, have you gotten any?
I do. I have one.
Awesome. All right, so here we go.
Right on the subject that we were just talking about. The question is it possible that there may be staggered days of attendance starting in the fall, or that some families may choose to continue remote learning until some point in time?
Mm-hmm. Yes and yes. I don't know.
I mean, I'll just say that
yeah, go ahead.
We've talked about staggered days. We've talked about half days. So we have half the students in the morning, half the students in the afternoon, because that could eliminate the need for cafeteria time and eating lunch. We've talked about possibly...
But we can't transport that way.
But transportation's hard. We've talked about staggered days, yet also incorporating remote learning within the staggered days.
Yes, we have talked about... And again, this is where there's hundreds of implications to everything everything that's thrown out here. The question of, hey, so let's do staggered days. So let's say it's the Murphys Monday, Tuesday, and every other Friday, and the Phillipses on Wednesday, Thursday, and every other Friday, something like that. Mm-hmm. And when the Murphys aren't at school, then they're at home, same thing. Well, there's something called, and the big word for it is synchronous or asynchronous. So should we do synchronous learning? So using a staggered model with some in class, some at home. For those that are home, the synchronous learning would be if I'm signed into my high school chemistry class, if I have high school chemistry at 8 a.m., then if I'm in class, I'm great. I'm in my high school chemistry class with Mrs. Goling. If I'm at home, the synchronous part says, now I need to be logged on at 8 a.m. for my chemistry class with Mrs. Goling. Okay, that sounds good, and there's some benefits to that, but then how do we keep track of that? And what if the student has internet problems at home and then is struggling with, then how does Mrs. Goling, how does she know that? How does she?
Right.
And oh, by the way, that would require a huge investment in technology as well, because then we need to have cameras and microphones installed in every classroom. So staggered schedules, staggered, oh yeah, yes, but I don't know. Next question.
That is the only question so far. We've had a number of people, and I would say thank you for your thank yous. A couple people said great job on this. Thank you for being honest. We have one. Thank you for the great send-off for the seniors, the parade. So
Great.
a number of people that are appreciative of what's happening.
Great.
So thank you.
Awesome. There's got to be more questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on, can you tell how many people are watching? 51 people. Well, thanks to all 51 of you that are watching this. And is this something then that's recorded, or is it just live? Oh, it is recorded. So it is recorded, so people can watch this later. Good. That's great.
This is a great question,
Okay.
and one of an amazing challenge that we've had to deal with. How would it look for special needs students?
That is one of the questions, Mr. Phillips, that honestly has, I don't know if it's kept me up at night, but I worry about. As public educators, teachers, we are responsible for all children. We educate all children. We don't pick and choose. Community schools get to pick and choose. We don't get to pick and choose. They're our kids. We also know that when you have, whether it's your own family or you have a school family, ranging grades K or pre-K through 12, you have so many levels of and capabilities. And our students with special needs, whether they be learning needs, emotional, social emotional, physical. You have children that are greater at risk for certain things that just struggle with certain aspects of their learning. Maybe they thrive with math and they really struggle in reading, or whether and for students that are special education students, I think that we've done our very, very best with this remote learning thing. Our intervention specialists have gone above and beyond to try to stay connected with them and to modify the work, adapt the work, provide adjustments. But when you can't be with kids, that's really, really hard. Or if you're only going to be with them on staggered times, well, you could look at it a couple different ways. Well, hey, at least you get to have them sometimes, and you can, you build the relationships, you build trust, and I don't know. I just feel like that's one of the things that not just Husky Valley, but across the board, that is a struggle, and we're going to have to continue to figure out how do we meet the learning needs of all kids. And you know what? And I'm going to go to the flip side of that. Because that's a great question. What do we do with students with special needs? Are we really helping meet their needs and reach them? Well, how about the kids that are on the gifted side? How about the kids that really are not being challenged as they normally would be challenged to think even more critically and stretch intellectually, stretch their learning, stretch their collaboration, all of those things? They may have not had that opportunity either. And as public educators, our goal is to connect and help every single one of them reach their potential. So I would say we have a lot to learn there. We have a lot it's a big area of growth. But I would say we have a huge area of growth across the board.
Another question, there's two questions. One's directly related to the start of school. The question is, has the state set a date where we will know how and when we are starting school next year, or will we find out literally possibly in mid-August? And I'll let you answer that one.
All right, well, first of all, no, there is no date. None of us as superintendents has received any magical date that we will know, or the governor will say, or the Department of Education. No. Here's my gut. I feel like these next few weeks, the next month and a half or so, as businesses and Ohio opens up, and businesses and restaurants and parks and all those things, I think that the health department the Ohio Health Department, our local health departments, the governor, other legislators are going to be watching very closely to see what's happening and what, are there flare-ups, and then what does that mean for schools? Because if there's significant flare-up, it would not surprise me that we start the way we're finishing.
Right.
But if everything moves forward great this summer, as people are out and about and they're hopefully enjoying their lives, if there is not huge flare-ups, perhaps then the governor would say, hey, you know what? I want our schools back. I want them at full capacity. I don't think my gut tells me that's not going to happen. I don't think we're going to be permitted to be full capacity. I think my gut tells me as a local school district, we will have to decide whether we continue with remote learning and make it as best we can, or do we do staggered and hybrid where some are at home and some are at school. Then I'm challenged with, well, do we just let everybody decide that on their own? Is that what's best? For everybody to just decide? But then as public educators, then that's basically saying, I don't trust you, Mr. Phillips, and I don't trust Mr. Murphy, and because you know what? We're either in school or we're not. I can tell you that the Murphy children will be at school. When we're in session, the Murphy children will be in school. I'm not concerned about the school district not doing its part to keep kids safe. I am not at all. We will do whatever we need to do to keep kids safe. So, second part of that question.
Well, no, they're separate questions.
Okay.
This one, if the lack of internet is an issue for some students, schools up north have given hotspots while at home for the home learning. Is that something we've explored? And I believe the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. We are down to just a very small amount of students who were not able to get internet. It's not so much having the internet, but just like today's production that we're trying to do, we were 10 minutes late starting because all of a sudden Facebook wasn't allowing us to do what we wanted to do. So it's most everyone has the internet. It's just whether or not it works correctly that day.
Right.
If Google Classroom works or not.
Yeah, to be exact, from what we found out with the work that Mr. Lewis and Mrs. Varansky did on our behalf, 7%, ladies and gentlemen, 7% of our student population, of our families, currently have no or insufficient internet. 7%. The remaining 93%, fortunately, do. Now, some of them may be using hotspots and those kinds of things, but that's the other thing, too. Local leaders, our school superintendents, through this whole process, we are all strongly advocating for, here's what we're advocating for. We're advocating that internet be provided as same as water and gas.
Right. And Mr. Lewis, actually, technology is amazing. So behind the scenes, he sends me this text. The U.S. and Ohio, the Ohio House and Senate are working on legislation to help solve this problem, and if it happens, we obviously will take advantage of that program to ensure that everyone has internet at home.
Yes, and I'm grateful for that. I'm excited to hear that. I'm grateful for that. But here, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but my experience tells me that those kinds of it sounds great. It just does not happen as fast as what we would like. It doesn't happen overnight. And my experience, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, but you can't legislate everything.
Right.
And oftentimes when elected officials want to legislate stuff, oftentimes it gets even more clunky. So anyways, all that to say is I'm glad to hear that, and we are advocating that internet be provided, that it be easy access and high quality, high speed internet, all kids, all families. It just has, in light of what we've encountered these past 2 months, it has got to be provided for everyone. So, yeah, great question.
And on a safety of the school and keeping it clean, sanitized, will there be any adaptations to the HVAC systems, such as HEPA filters?
HEPA filters. I'm not even sure if I've ever heard of a HEPA filter, but it sounds really high technical and probably something that filters out germs and those kinds of things. And no, we have not discussed, what's it called again?
HEPA
We've not
filters.
discussed HEPA filters. We have old facilities. We don't have high quality HVAC systems
In general.
anywhere. We have room ventilators and we have windows that open. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just being real. We change the filters throughout the year. I know we change our filters every year in the summer. In fact, by the way, kudos to our custodians and actually to many of our instructional aides who are currently serving and assisting with custodial work and already jumping full speed into summer cleaning mode. But we do change filters. But as far as upgrading HVAC, again, I want you to understand something when we're talking about finances. Let's say we had to go through with everything that the state or the governor or whoever, Department of Health says you've got to implement. I want you to talk. I want everybody to think about this because we talked about it this morning as a group of local superintendents. So, has anybody calculated how much it's going to cost to provide? Because is it really fair for me to say and expect, hey, all Tusky Valley families, when we're at school, you all need to be wearing masks? Well, what kind of masks? What quality of masks? Do you have access to masks? Are you going to make your own mask? Is grandma going to make your mask? Okay? So, more than likely, the school district will have to provide masks for all employees, for all children, to meet certain criteria. Not just one mask, because I don't know about you, but have you tried to wear a mask all day long? Have you tried to wear a mask all day long in a school setting, especially? How about, currently the requirement is children 2 years and older at school wear masks while they're at school. Okay. Where's common sense here? So, masks. I talked about technology. Potentially having to equip every classroom with cameras and microphones, and then how do you manage all of that? How do you learn how to work all of that? We struggled to do a Facebook Live. The cost of, and then you mentioned about HVAC. Well, we don't have any air conditioners anywhere in our school district other than the middle school office, because that's our newest building. So the middle school office and the middle school media center are air conditioned, and the computer lab is air conditioned there. Here at the high school, computer lab is air conditioned, and a few parts of that particular building. Other than that, it's window units here and there. The school district cannot afford to upgrade HVAC.
Which actually leads back into the facility question.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're not fixing the buildings, and we're actually
Well, I hadn't really thought of it that
building
way.
new buildings. Is the state kind of guided us that.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, we're always going to do our best to maintain the facilities that we have. I mean,
But to do
until
that
we are
upgrade.
in new buildings, we are going to do everything we can to take good care of and maintain what we have. But we want to also exercise caution with what we're investing in.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So this question, when or how can the community see the drawings for the new school?
Great question. Well, prior to COVID-19 happening, we have, and they're actually on display. No, maybe they're in my office now. I don't know. They're here in this room. We have a 3D rendering, schematic design of the new 7 through 12 building. It's fantastic, and we have a great big display board. So now what we need to do, we'll be working with our architects, and we will probably have PDF versions of those kinds of things that we'll be sharing with our community, and we're sharing with our staff right now, but with our community and family here in the near future. It wouldn't surprise me too, the next edition of our Trojan Talk newsletter, we typically do that in June, so look for that. That's just a month away, and we will be be sure, it's probably a lot of the same things I'm covering here today will be included in the Trojan Talk newsletter, and we will do our best to include some renderings of the facility. Yeah, great question. We'd love to, and if we can't, we might even put it out on our social media and at least our website and that kind of thing too. Yep.
And that's it right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we started at about 4:10. I'm sorry, we started at about 3:10. It is now about 4:10, and so we asked for an hour of your time. This was scheduled from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Again, our first virtual coffee chat via Facebook/YouTube Live. I think that we've made it work. On behalf of Mr. Phillips and me and Mr. Lewis, again, behind the scenes here, behind the cameras, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word. Thank you for what you do here to support our Tusky Valley children and our families in our community. We could not do it without you. We could not do this without you. But I pledge to you, as much as we don't know what things are going to look like here in the near future, our pledge to you is that we just keep making Tusky Valley the best school district that it can be. You know, I was just reading, I'll close with this, Mr. Phillips, and I shared this with our seniors for the Scholar Banquet. I think it was part of my message for the Scholar Banquet. And it was on this topic of being elite, choosing to be elite. And when I first heard about this, when I was first reading about it, I thought, kind of sometimes people have, there's this potentially a negative side. People have this negative connotation of, well, they think they're elite. They think they're all that and everything else. That's not what we're after. Elite is really being, and so what I told our seniors, especially those that were awarded and recognized for the scholar as senior scholars, they have chosen to be elite, not just for a short time, for the extended time period. And choosing to be elite means being the best version of you. Not a comparison to everyone else, the best version of you. So the best version of Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools. That has always been my heart. That, hey, in the school world, we all steal or borrow. We take the greatest ideas. I am always looking at people that I think are smarter, more courageous, wiser, more experienced than I am as a leader, because I want to learn from them. I want to emulate those kinds of things. I also do that on behalf of our school district. What districts are similar to us, not just in Ohio, but what school districts are similar to us that are phenomenal? How can we incorporate some of those elements? But it's not just taking elements, and it's not just taking the best of all of those things. It's taking the best and making ours even better. It's what we like to call it when we're in our admin meetings. It's like, okay, we're going to take that and we're going to Tusky Valleyize it. In other words, not dummy it down, ramp it up, and make it all that it can be. So I'll close with that. Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Anything else?
Nope.
No? Anything else, Mr. Lewis? We're good to go. Thanks, everybody. Best wishes to the class of 2020, and go Trojans.